10 minutes into an errant mayhem in the town near Mexican border, and a gunman, a disgruntled Iraq war veteran, has already taken on 2 people. One slumped in the desk, the other covered in blood on the floor. And it goes, the New York Times article reporting on how the Boy Scouts are being trained to take on domestic terrorists. Now, see, if this was just one drill, you'd say, oh, well, in that one scenario, the feds in the grant paid to have this. No. I have articles in Texas, Michigan, California, New York, everywhere. I have Hobbs Middle School article 1998. In fact, if folks don't believe this, Google it again like I did 2 weeks ago on the air. Hobbs Middle School Marines. Martial law. Hobbs Middle School Marines martial law. 1998. We have the article saved. And a listener faxed it to me. And I called the Marines up and I said, did you really go in and tell the kids it was martial law and put guns to their heads? And they said, yeah, we were ordered to do so. The Marines weren't even hiding this. This has been a long-term strategic operation to acclimate everybody, including the children, to go along with this. So they have drills where they come in and say, the police come in and say, unannounced. In Michigan, the AP reported, we're here to kill you. We're the homeschoolers against public education and for the Second Amendment. I'm not kidding. That's a quote. And then the kids' parents say, what was this about? Oh, it's about homeschoolers attacking. Those darn homeschoolers. I mean, that'd be like if I didn't like black people and I dressed up, you know, in blackface and went over to my neighbor's house and beat him up and said, I'm a black guy, I don't like white people. That would be a false flag attack against black people. If I burned down the police station and then left evidence that somebody I didn't like did it, that would be a false flag, a staged terror attack. When the police attacked their own police in Denver and in Canada last year and in England at the G20 2 weeks ago, and then admit they did it, that's a false flag to make all the demonstrators look bad. Well, it's the same thing here. They have these drills everywhere where veterans go crazy and kill everybody. Or where homeschoolers come to the public school and kill people. Or where militia members come and kill people. That's how they demonize gun owners, veterans, and others to the local police. It's a simple false flag. It's basic psychology. Do you like being manipulated? Do you like being suckered? Do you like being fools? And now they've announced, you know, I said 1 million off of Rahm Emanuel's book he wrote 3 years ago, and now he's chief of staff, and now the White House is saying 8 million, 7 to 8 million in the New York Times. Youth Corps with police powers, with environmental corps, armed corps, you know, all these different, surveillance squads. They're announcing it. And what are the #1 new federal grants for people to get tuition in the schools? When a kid has great grades, they get scholarships now to not be a nuclear physicist, to not be a biologist, to not be a teacher, to not be a physical therapist. No, the biggest piece of the pie now is law enforcement and surveillance and Patriot Act compliance. And what is it? Data mining, spying on neighbors, running people's backgrounds when they rent a car, get a hotel, how to be spies. That's why everywhere you go now, there's security guards and spies, and you can't videotape here as you walk down the street, videotaping a landmark. Acting like everybody's a terrorist. See, it's all for us. It's all for the people, because big offshore banks publicly and Trilateral Commission, CFR, Club of Rome, Bilderberg Group documents that we post on Infowars.com that are now mainstream news, Politico, CBS News, all these major newspapers, Portugal Television, biggest papers in Greece are now quoting us because we get the documents. We send the teams to Bilderberg. I get arrested going to it. Jim Tucker does. Others do. More than a dozen reporters got arrested over the weekend in Greece, just trying to cover these people meeting. And you know what their documents say? They are going to have a string of controlled financial implosions, each one worse than the next. Government's going to pose as the savior during each one and use that to get more control for select group of corporations. They're going to hand what's left of the West industry over to select banks. Then they're going to bankrupt the world currencies total and have a new global digital currency. See, first they're going to go to regional currencies where you still have your dollar or still have your euro, but it will be digitized and set to the same rate every day, the same currency rate, in the name of stabilization. Then they're going to go right to thumb scans and retina scans. This has openly been announced. That's the new global currency. And if your retina's turned off, your thumbprint's turned off, no buying, no selling, total control. Think of what Hitler or Stalin would have done with that. Stay with us. Your call straight ahead. Folks, it couldn't be creepier when you look at what the federal government's doing. All the warrantless wiretapping and the secret arrest and no rights for detainees. And if you read that Military Commissions Act, it says that's for U.S. citizens as well. It's just they just strip you of your citizenship. And then you look at where the funding's going. I'd say 98% of anti-terror is focused inward on the American people and to federalize local police. This is all for you, the youth corps, the Boy Scouts. And I don't want to just single out the Boy Scouts here because I think it's been a very good organization overall. I'm talking about all the public schools, the private schools. They're all being recruited into these federal programs where the youth actually march around and train with guns and train for gun confiscation. And Obama keeps getting up and saying, oh, I don't want your guns. We're not coming after your guns. They've got 8 different bills introduced that will basically completely ban the Second Amendment. They're trying to get us to sign on and to get they've already signed on. They want the Senate to ratify this small arms ban that states that it'll ban the Second Amendment, right down to black powder. I mean, it's all happening. It's all happening. Everybody's worried about the economy, and the media keeps saying everything's fine. Yeah, Chrysler's laying off 3,000, and GM's going to lay off, when I say 3,000, I mean 3,000 dealerships. Yeah, they're shutting all the Chrysler dealerships, or almost all of them. They're going to shut down 3,000 GM ones, but everything's fine. And yeah, $14.8 trillion in 7 months has been stolen by offshore banks. And then the very banking heads meet in secret in Greece, and mainstream reporters for the biggest Greek papers, biggest British papers and others, London Guardian and others, and I interviewed them Thursday and Friday. They went and showed up. They went there, and they got arrested. They got picked up. Hey, guys, will you guys come reboot the phone system? It just shut down in here. That's why old pad and paper seems to be good with these guests. These computers are always frying out. Thank you, because I want to go back to the calls here in a moment. Look, all of this is going on. All of this is happening, and I know it sounds crazy. I can't believe it. I understand. But they couldn't believe it in Germany in the 30s. They couldn't believe it in Russia in 1918. They couldn't believe it in China. But it's happening here, and it is the big money setting up a police state to turn the poor people loose on you. And they're going to tell the poor folks, here's a fancy uniform, here's a machine gun. And it starts slow, military in New York after 9/11, and then military at the Kentucky Derby, and then military arresting people at the Kentucky Derby, and at college football games and the Super Bowl, and then the regular Army at high school football games. It's now happening. These reports are pouring in, mainstream news everywhere going, oh, yes, the Army and the Air Force MPs, we're out in Tennessee, we're out in Arkansas, we're out in Michigan, we're out in New York, running checkpoints today, just searching people for everyone's safety. Oh, hi, I'm the regular Army. I'm just here to search you. And then they're having drills in Florida and Arizona and California and upstate New York with foreign troops training with public FEMA drills to take over the U.S. and saying, oh, yes, in newspaper headlines, foreign troops will help if terrorists strike. They've done this before, actually. Why, Mexican troops helped in New Orleans and Norwegian troops helped after 9/11. See, they just set the press. It's happening. As bad as things are now, this is nothing. What are they planning so bad? They think we're going to accept youth corps running around in gray, red, and blue uniforms? That's that they're in uniforms. You can go to the government websites. I have it up on Infowars.com. They're in blue, gray, and red uniforms running around, and they admit they're going to come door to door in RDR, asking you if you support the president's policies and then marking down your house if you support or not. Talk about intimidation. unspoken, oh, hi, we're just here in a red uniform to ask and see if it's happening, people.